What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to my channel. I'm Roxora, and we've got another Commander deck tech for you today. But this one's a little bit different because usually I do some type of submission from a friend or a viewer. But today we're actually doing one of mine, but one that I created for a very special purpose. Some of you have probably met or are familiar with my girlfriend Lior, who I showcased in the previous video. And she, does play some games with me, again, has played Lorcana, and, expressed some interest in exploring a little bit of Magic the Gathering, but only under the condition of a very specific reason, and that is, of course, building a deck around a theme that she liked, and that is birds, which we'll get into. So I worked really hard to with her, and kind of going back and forth with her on this list. Very happy with how it ended up. I play tested it a couple of times before I actually put the cards together for her, and yeah, I'm super excited to have her play it eventually. We're gonna get together with some friends and do it, and yeah, I'm really excited for that. So I'm gonna show off the actual list today and just kind of talk about it and the process. And if you guys have significant others that you are trying to encourage to play the game, if they're bird fans, or if you just want to see how I kind of went around it. So we're gonna get into that. If you enjoy first of all, if you enjoyed the previous video of Lior rating magic cards, fear not, there will be more of those videos in the future, and the way again to get more of that content and this type of content that you like is to like and also subscribe. Again, I really do pay attention to it. I've already booked or set up 2 more videos for Lior to analyze some more cards. So again, another one of those videos is coming. It's in the works. And yeah, that's all thanks to, again, you guys kind of letting me know that you guys enjoy that stuff. Oh, and of course, Cookie here too. So yeah, without further ado, let's talk about this list. All right, so as I said in the intro, the theme or the kind of condition for building Lior's deck was it had to be a bird deck, as she is a big fan of birds. We have one in the apartment here. Obviously loves taking care of animals, loves all kinds of critters and such like that. Yeah, and that actually came at the perfect time because that was just this was around this time when Bloomborough was kind of out for a little bit and had seen a lot of the cards, and so was able to show her a lot of the cards, and one of the ones that she really, really liked was Kastral, the Wing Crested here, so that is the card that we ended up using as the commander here. Not really a card that saw any play in any of the other formats. A little bit of play in draft, but here it's really awesome as we just get to fill our deck with birds and really make usage of this card. So let's talk about it. So it's 3 blue whites of 5 mana for 4/5 legendary creature Bird Scout. Of course, it's a bird, it has flying. Spoilers, every single creature in this deck has flying because I as far as I'm aware, I'm not aware of actual birds without flying. I know there's some spirits without flying. I don't think I'm personally am not aware of a bird without flying. If there is, let me know in the comments. Yeah. So it says, whenever one or more birds you control deal combat damage to a player, choose one. It says you may put a bird from your hand or graveyard onto the battlefield with a finality counter. Finality counter meaning that if it leaves field, it goes right into exile. Excuse me. It says put a +1/+1 counter on each of your birds or draw a card. So the big thing about this card is that, in 1v1, you could only really get 1 trigger out of this, whereas in Commander, you can actually get 3, because the way it's worded here, if you deal damage with 1 creature to each of your opponents, you can choose 3 of the effects. Or sorry, you can choose all 3 of the effects, I should say. You can choose, even better. You can choose all 3 of the effects, and they're actually separate effects, right? It's 3 separate triggers, so you can actually choose the same effect here. It looks like they only allow you to choose 1, but if there's 3 different instances of the effect, you can use it to draw 3 cards, put 3 counters on all your guys, or get 3 birds into play if you wanted to, which is really, really interesting. I don't know if that was something that they intended. I assume so. Because again, this is not really a constructed card. This is more of a fun, again, build around card. that we can kind of mess around with in Commander. So showing off the alternate art here, because this is the actual version that she liked. She liked this version a little bit better than the original art. So just for an explanation there. Obviously, a little bit of fun, having a little bit of fun with the name there. And yeah, essentially what we have here is we have just bird tribal, just shoving the deck full of birds, and some other support cards to supplement that. I'll be honest, for me, if I were to build this deck just for myself, the build process would be pretty easy. Again, Scryfall, search, shove all the birds in, add some extra filler, and that's it. There was a little bit of a condition which we'll talk about here. So with Lior, there's a particular type of bird as we'll see here. So we have Artificer's Assistant, which is nice. One drop here, able to give you some scrying off of historic cards, so like Kastral and some of your artifacts, which is nice. Some other ones like Cloudfin Raptor, Harrier Strix, just a nice way to get rid of some lands. We got some good one drops in Healer's Hawk, Judge's Familiar, and Guidewing, and Silver Raven here. Silver Raven, kind of like an Artificer's Assistant, Part 2. Judge's Familiar, nice counterspell, and then Guidewing doing something when it dies is kind of nice. And then the big one here is Mockingbird, which looks like a one drop, which it can be, but is really, really powerful at pretty much all stages of the game where you get to kind of flex what you copy with this. It's a really powerful CEDH card that I run and some other people are very high on. Yeah, really powerful card, and it's cool that we still get to run it here as its cute bird and use it to copy one of our birds. Let's see, we got Cartographer's Hawk to kind of help us with some ramp, SEOR to protect our commander, SEOR and Plumcrete Escort, to protect the commander. We have some, of course, the most powerful bird in the game, powerful card in the game, Stormcrow. That's a classic. Soulcatcher is an interesting one that I hadn't seen before. I kind of knew that I had to run this one. This is one of the ones I had to convince her on. So kind of what I did was I just kind of said, filter bird, show her all the cards, and any card she said yes to, right, went into the list, right? So that's where you get, again, Artificer's Assistant, Strix, Healer's Hawk, right? They're just like, cool, shove them in. We also, at our local game store, just like went into their bulk section, just like churned through it, found birds, and, if she liked them, boom, they went into the list. So as you can see here, by the way, really, really cheap list. I actually had a lot of the more expensive cards just lying around. So I forget, I think I only spent like $30 to actually order the rest of the cards, or acquire the rest of the cards for this list. So just if you're wondering. Yeah, so let's take a look at some of the other cards here. Cool new one in Senu, I think, from the Assassin's Creed set, one of the sets that I don't really talk about, but I really, really love the Assassin's Creed set, so happy to sneak that one in there. Familiar here, obviously not the most powerful card, but powerful card, and especially not the super fitting card in this deck, but makes our white spells a little bit cheaper, and it looks cool. It's a nice bird for Lior. Kastral here, giving us some interaction against enchantments as well as just being a bird. That was a really nice find. Let's see. This Jubilant Skybonder, making it more difficult to interact with our creatures with flying, which again is all of our creatures. Another note is there are some Bloomburrow cards that most people might think of and like, oh, those cards are really good. Looking at some of the Bloomburrow cards, I think I had some like lying around somewhere, and was like going to put them in, and then realized, wait a second, the mechanic in Bloomburrow was that the birds or the flying creatures assisted the non-flying creatures. So there are actually a lot of Bloomburrow cards that were just completely useless for this deck, other than being a creature like a bird with flying. Like she really liked some of the she really liked the Bloomburrow. Bloomburrow is definitely like the set that like would have incentivized her to get into Magic, like the Night Fisher here. But there were too many of the Bloomburrow cards that just did nothing because all of our creatures have flying. So, anyways, but yeah, Night Fisher's in here. That's a good one. Let's see, we got another Scouting Hawk is kind of like a duplicate or a kind of a one-time Cartographer Hawk effect. Making sure we have enough planes, right? Yeah, we have plenty of planes. I was like just realizing that I was like, wait a second. Make sure I have enough planes. Um, Obviously, like a card like Strike Force is a good one. She loves that card. That one was an easy include. Very happy to include that one. Thieving Magpie here, not the strongest card in a vacuum, but again, it is literally a bird. It's like no real qualms about it. Nice old kind of design templating. It does do a little bit of card draw, and again, presumably if you're playing this at the lower power level, it's not going to die on sight, and it's like pretty fine. Funny one here in Swans of Brynargal. This is a funny one from like anyone who like played the Swan combo in a Modern way back when, and that kind of meme strategy. A lot of my friends love making fun of that combo, or just like laughing at that meme. And so snuck this one in there. She likes the art, but there's no actual design or no actual synergy with this card. It's just the 4/3 flying. I guess like if you're playing against like a blasphemous act like deck, like or like a deck that is likely to deal damage. Oh, its source would deal damage to Swung, so it's actually combat damage as well. Oh, I didn't even think about this. All right, scratch that. Cool. Card's great. I'm a genius. I'm kidding. But yeah, just in case anybody's wondering, there's no planned synergy with this card. It's a bird. It looks cool. I think it's a meme. It's in here. um, let's see. What else we got? I actually have some cool synergy with Mandalore. Right, there's some birds that have that ETB effect, like the Kastral or the Silver Strix, things like that. Yeah, I'm trying to think. Another good one here is Wingmate Rock. This was a nice one, showing that one. Again, there were some cases where, so I'll kind of talk about, so that most of the birds at the top end here are just like big birds. The one card that I'll talk about is Steel Plume, excuse me, Marshall. 3 white for 3/3 flying. When it attacks other creatures you control with flying, get +2/+2 until end of turn. Obviously, very powerful when you just, again, every single creature in your deck is flying, and you're playing a lot of cheap, kind of weak creatures as a way to buff them up. This one she wasn't excited by, and if you haven't noticed the theme here of the ones that she is excited by versus the one that she's not, it's the ones that have arms. It's the ones that don't look enough like real birds. Was a big fan of Magpie, big fan of Artificer's Assistant, not so much a big fan of Steel Plume Marshall, and I'll kind of show off some of the other ones that I wanted to include, but she was too kind of like, nah, those are gross. There were a couple here that I said, I kind of put my foot down and was like, this card is too important. You need to have this card in your deck. And so that's, again, for anyone who's like wondering, like, how do I kind of, you know, assist, you know, your significant other in building a good deck. You know, you kind of have to pick your battles, right? Let them play their Heresistrixes, their Artificers. But when it comes to like Steel Plume Marshall, and also was not that excited about Crook Claw Elder. These were two cards where I was like, listen, like I get it, but these cards are going to be too important for what you're doing. I let her run like Windbrisk Raptor. I think this card's like kind of whatever. It's a big bird. It looks like a vulture kind of, right, raptor kind of thing. You know, not that exciting of a card, but again, wasn't gonna argue too much on including it versus not. Yeah, so then, sorry, let's briefly go over the rest of the birds here. Kaikar, again, was another one that I was like, she was waffling on. I kind of pushed a little bit. I kind of put my foot on the scale because, again, we have a decent number of artifacts, enchantments, and everything, and you know, making extra spirits, or just like saving a creature, or again getting those extra ETBs from like your Wingmate Rock, or again your where's our guy? Your Kastral, right? Getting those things. Also, Night Fisher triggers, or all of those things, right? Even even Eagles of the North, right, has a relevant ETB trigger. So getting any of those again is pretty good. So yeah, so as you note, as I'll note again, the things that aren't in the list again are things like shapeshifters, right, which could be considered birds and would be a nice inclusion. But again, Lior was very set on only having the actual birds. They don't want to just play the bird theme. Wanted as many of the actual birds that she liked as possible. So again, wasn't a big problem. Birds is actually one of the tribes where it's actually easy to kind of find enough stuff. But yeah, let's talk about, so again, the ones that weren't included. So we got Even an Interrupter. This is a card that I would have been pretty hyped to include. Unfortunately, again, has hands. Even Mind. So it seems also, by the way, that it seemed very much that it was the Amonkhet style birds that she was not a fan of, as that's the kind of style, the kind of I don't know, like the exactly what this is in reference. I guess like the again Egyptian mythology, like raw type of imagery, right? And so repeating that a lot in the Amonkhet cards, and so a lot of the Amonkhet birds she steered away from. So yeah, these two are like whatever. They're kind of just Staxy or Hateberry type effects I wasn't too set on. Not excited by Teshar. I would definitely include Teshar if again, if you are building this for someone who is okay with birds with arms, birds with hands, or whatever you want to call them. Yeah, those, all three of these very good. And then there's some other funny ones that I think this card's hilarious. I showed this. She was not excited by, again, the hands a little bit too much. But this card giving you some life gain, and also just look at it. That's just Gaggle Master. You're telling me you don't want to play a good Gaggle Master? I'm gonna get some weird comments from that. Anyways, and then another funny one here in Aven Envoy, one of the best one drops we've ever seen. Obviously joking here. Actually doesn't even work with Kastral, by the way, so actually scratch that one. Don't even worry about it. But yeah, those were some of the cards that I would have preferred we include, but obviously again, building this for her, again, picking my battles again, like this Even Mind Sensor, right? It's not going to make or break the deck. The Steel Plume Marshal and the Elder giving you a big boost in power and card draw are kind of important there. So yeah, so 35 birds, that's a pretty good ratio. Even just Kastral by itself, if you somehow don't draw a single bird in the early game, right, even Kastral can just kind of draw you more cards, which will hopefully get you towards your birds. But given that every single creature in your deck is a bird, you'll draw a bird at some point. I guess I don't know how to say that. Lear's also a big fan of frogs, so it was not crazy to include a splash portal. Splash portal, a flicker effect, so flicker effect that draws if you target a bird. So allowing you to protect our Kastral as people are going to probably target it. But can also again repeat those ETB triggers, does all of those things, and gives you a card back as well, which is nice and cheap, good effect. Ravenforn for some removal. The one Airborne Aid, so a big draw effect, and then there's a bunch of cards that make birds or pay you off for having birds, like Gust of Wind. Ironically, was okay with Strix's Serenade, even though it's not a bird, it has a bird in it. So that was a big win. If that's like, again, if there's like a theme that you are like, your significant other is like not finding, or sorry, is interested in, but you're not finding like enough stuff to make it work, try looking, like if it's a creature type, right, try looking in the other categories, right, of in terms of art, of is there any like art that you can showcase, right? So if I was struggling to find birds, right, I find Strix's Serenade and Swan Song, and maybe I can kind of be like, hey, look at that. Cool. We did not include Swan Song because it is a pretty expensive card right now, and didn't really care about that. Right, so the same thing here with like Dazzling Denial and Lofty Denial. Both of these benefits you for having a bird or a creature with flying in play, and have a bird in the art, so that was a big win. Of course, we're running Swords to Plowshares. Again, there's some cards I started off and I went, here are the must includes. Obviously, there's a Soul Ring in here. I'm not crazy, right? But again, going from there and letting her pick the cards, and then again, kind of picking my battles of what I deemed too important to omit. Um, and again, Eyes in the Sky is pretty self-explanatory. All the artifact here is either ramp or card draw. Again, I was able to convince her on the Azorius Key Rune. Wasn't sold on that. Again, didn't look bird-y enough, even though it becomes a bird. Patchwork Banner and Herald Horn were easy enough once I explained kind of what they did. And then these ones were nice. Again, this one, the fact that it makes a bird is great. And then giving you some extra advantage on the second chapter. Unable to really use the third chapter, which is fine. But just the fact that it makes a bird is nice. You could probably omit this. It's a little bit weak, but she was okay with it. And again, wanted enough non-creature spells for something like Kaikar. Kaikar, I guess, can blink. I can't blink this. But you can still do some cool stuff with the Raven's Warning. Favorite wins, Kindred Discovery, Favorite wins and Murmuration are pretty self-explanatory. They buff your birds. Murmuration makes birds. This card's actually nuts, like running it and just like casting like a Soul Ring or any artifact mana into this. Make 2 birds, like make 2/2/3s, and then just keep going. Every time you cast a spell is kind of nuts. So very, very powerful card for the bird archetype. And then of course Kindred Discovery, pretty much auto inclusion in any kind of what should I say, tribal or kindred strategy. I always mess up the name now that we've changed what we're calling it. Apologies, don't cancel me. And then for the lands here, it's pretty self-explanatory. We're a blue-white deck, so we don't have to get too crazy with it. A lot of basics, the Path of Ancestry and the Secluded Step and the Unclaimed Territories here are a nice one. Windburst Heights, as we have a bunch of creatures to be attacking with. The one of Restless Anchorage, which is a bird. So a nice win there. And yeah, otherwise just kind of find the cheapest lands you can. Animal Sanctuary is a big one. And then of course, Seaside Haven, which is a card I did not know before this. That's a must include. Obviously, again, goes without saying. But yeah, everything else in here, again, just kind of find the cheapest lands you can get your hands on and just kind of shove them in there. Again, the land base in Commander, in Casual Commander, I should say, is a little bit more lenient. Again, just 37 lands, pretty high as long as you have, again, I went here and was trying to confirm wherever it is. The average land count, well, that'd be somewhere between 2 and 3. So 2.62 is not bad. Especially, again, once you consider that you have a couple of the artifact mana and a couple of cards, like the Cartographer's Hawk and the Scouting Hawk to kind of get you back up on lands. As most white decks, I feel like, would run land tax or something like that to ensure that they have some lands in play. But yeah, pretty self-explanatory in terms of the game plan, right? Put some birds into play, cast Kastral, hit your opponents, draw more cards, and then eventually, once you've assembled enough stuff, you start putting counters on them, and you continue to beat down. Yeah, really not much more to say about that. Again, usually a linear Kindred deck like this tends to play pretty linearly, but it is pretty nice when you are dealing damage with Kastral. You have some decisions to make, right? Do you want to draw more cards? Do you want to put counters on your birds? Is there a card in your hand that's like maybe more expensive or you couldn't fit into your turn in your main phase 1, right? But maybe Kastral helps you put something into play. Very often I put, like, again, the Elder into play and just used a bunch of my birds to draw cards. It is also really awesome with Murmuration. So if you assemble Kastral, Elder, and Murmuration, you can, right, attack with your birds, draw a bunch of cards, right, draw more cards with your Elder, and then cast more spells, make more birds off of Murmuration, and just kind of go nuts from there. So yeah, pretty awesome. When I played this deck, it did really feel very much similar to Timna the Weaver, if you're familiar with that card in CEDH. right, where you are trying to just kind of spread the love, right, attack all the different players, and then you get all your Kastral triggers, and you just get to play birds and have a good time. So yeah, again, I am not planning obviously on powering this up any more than it currently is. Again, only really playing this with Lior in a very casual setting with some of my other casual decks. Yeah, that's pretty much it. I guess I would give a rating at this point. I obviously had mentioned that there were some changes that I would make if I were the only one interested in using the deck, which is obviously not the case. But considering that I had some constraints, as I mentioned, not being able to use birds with hands, I do feel like we did a pretty good job building this. Again, there are some other bird cards that you could use. I don't know exactly I didn't really do any math or any kind of calculations on if I have the correct creature count. So maybe it's like an 8 out of 10, 9 out of 10, not because of any strategic lapses or any card valuations, but maybe putting more effort into the consideration of, is 35 birds too much? Is 35 birds not enough? Do I have enough ramp to get me there? I'm pretty sure I'm good on that front, but yeah, I think it's a pretty fun list, and I'm very excited for Lior to play it out. So all right, guys, I think that's gonna do it for me. Again, I just wanted to show off this and talk a little about the list, and again, also let you guys know again that I know people were very, very happy with the previous video, and I also received a comment again asking if Lior was gonna get into Commander. She is. I'm not sure if I'm going to make like a video with that, but for anyone wondering, yes, I like she is engaging with the game a little bit more here and there. So yeah, that's exciting for me. Very happy with that. Yeah, guys, that's going to do it for me. Again, if you enjoyed, as I said, like, comment, subscribe is the best way to help me out. And I will see you guys in the next video.